Alright, so I'm back and I'm here to talk to you about January movies.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
Alright, so in the past week or so, I've been able to see three new recent releases. And it's January, which means that usually it's kind of a dumping ground for movies. Last year, though, we had a great month of January with Plane, Megan, Infinity Pool. Was quite a surprising month of January, which are usually average or bad. So this month, we had a couple of new releases coming out. There was Night Swim, The Beekeeper. We have ISS coming out next Friday. So let's just talk about them and let's see how it compares to last year, January. So let's go. Night Swim, The Beekeeper, and ISS reviews. So Night Swim, what is it about? There's a couple, they buy a house, the pool is haunted. What else do you need to know? This one was not good. It's not a good movie at all. My expectations were very low for Night Swim after seeing all the reviews, so I kind of like, in a way, ended up slightly enjoying myself while watching it because I thought it was going to be like complete garbage. It's a bad film, but there's, you know, a couple of things in there that was slightly interesting. I honestly, I just can't give it, you know, I can't give it a passing grade because, you know, there's a certain level of predictability with the film, lack of scares, paint by numbers, you know, horror tropes. But there's some things in it that I was able to appreciate. Kerry Condon, she's a very strong lead, coming off of her Oscar nomination with Banshees of Inisherin. So she's a great actress. Just the problem is that the whole movie really stretches its premise to, you know, way too long. It's based on a short film. I haven't seen the short film. I'm sure it's really well made and interesting. The problem here is that we take that premise and stretch it to a 1 hour and 35-minute-ish. At some point, I started getting a little bit frustrated at the movie of how, you know, predictable it was in terms of jump scare, story-wise. They're trying to establish a whole mythology that you're not really interested in because it's a really dumb film. It's a pool who's haunted. Like, what can you do about that? I'd say the best thing about it is how they play around with the underwater photography. Kind of some shot that I thought was really creative in terms of how it's made. Wyatt Russell, I like him as an actor. The problem is that his character is so like predictable and just straight up like bland. They try to give him like a backstory. He's a baseball player and the pool is healing him. There's also some spirits in the pool. What is going on? I'm not sure. I don't even think the directors and the writers know what they were doing. They were just like going with the flow. Yeah, there was a little hook on the film, I was kind of curious where this was going. Unfortunately, the ending is atrocious. Completely stupid ending that kind of like confirms that this movie was just bad. There's nothing much to say about Night Swim except that, first of all, they should have released that in the summer. There's this whole vibe, you know, it takes place during the summer with the, you know, they do pool parties and everything. Kind of feels like it would have been a cool summer release. But at the same time, I think they knew it was a garbage film.
Garbage Day!
So that's why they dumped it in January. So Night Swim, I gave it 4.5 out of 10. Tough to recommend that film. I didn't like it. Some stuff in there is decent, it's competent. It's not like it's not a freaking like clusterfuck of a film, but close. So Night Swim, 4.5 out of 10. Let's move on to the other one.
It's flammable as fuck. Who knew?
And that other film that I was able to see a few days after Night Swim was The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, and that was the definite highlight of the week, but also probably of the month. Really surprising action film that I absolutely love. I had so much fun with it. I was laughing the whole time. Just, it was my type of film. I'm the audience for that type of film. It's a bit of an absurd film that just understood what the movie is. Jason Statham is kind of like part of this secret organization, and he's kind of like this ultimate badass, but now he's retired and he's living on a farm with bees and an old lady. That old lady, she gets scammed, she loses all her money, something bad happened, and now Jason Statham is kind of like on a rampage and on a mission to like take down scammers and call centers, which make the whole thing even more ridiculous. This bee guy who's killing a bunch of scammers and call centers. What else can you ask for? It's kind of like if Kid Boga from YouTube, instead of being like a YouTuber, he was kind of like this badass mercenary and would just kill a bunch of scammers. That's basically what the premise of the movie is. It's also the fact that the action is incredible. It's savage, like a lot of, it's a kill count type of film. It's just like killing a bunch of bad guys in creative way. Some people get chopped off by an elevator. I'm not gonna say too much, but it's just like, it always find a new way to top it up and top it up. And in a way, what Statham is trying to do in that film, his character is trying to go at the top of the hive and trying to see where the problem is coming from. So he's just going from one level to the other, kind of like in a video game, until he goes to like an ultimate boss fight. And all of those moments are all really like paying off. Just really fun film that knows how to have fun, which is you know, what I really liked about it. I mean, it's ridiculous. Some moments of the film are like laughable, but they know what they're doing. It's the tone of the film that kind of like makes it work. And by the end of it, they're just like creating I don't know if there's gonna be a sequel. I'm seated. If there's a sequel, Beekeeper 2, let's fucking go, man. I want to see more of that bee guy, because he's kicking some ass and taking names, and I loved it for that. And that's kind of the thing with the Beekeeper, you know. Sometimes I don't ask for much, and I feel like the Beekeeper delivered entirely on this premise, and I had a lot of fun with it. So it's a 8 out of 10 for the Beekeeper. And that brings us to the third film I saw this week. I received a screener from Elevation Pictures. The movie's coming out on Friday, and that movie is ISS. So how can I describe that film without saying too much? Basically, it's the International Space Station. There's the US, there's the Russian. They kind of like cohabit there. As the movie starts, as you kind of see like the different cultural clashes. Still a sense of camaraderie, you know, they're like buddies and everything. But there's a war that just erupts on planet Earth while they're in space. They start like not trusting each other. The mission itself changes, and that kind of like is the whole premise of the film. Without saying too much, it's a little bit of a thing with the Russians and the Americans, like kind of like fighting against each other, but there's more to it, and there's that feeling that you cannot trust anyone on the ship, which makes it an interesting premise. In some way, it's kind of like a Crimson Tide in space, but without the thrills, the tension, and the atmosphere. Unfortunately, I found the movie very flat overall, unengaging. I was watching it and my head like kept going like elsewhere. I just had trouble connecting with it overall. It explores a lot of theme of like humanity and political differences, but it kind of like a difficulty taking off and trying like to explore those themes. So you know, you have all those different principles and mindset between those characters. So you know, that's an appeal to the film. But one of the problems also, I had trouble connecting with the characters overall. It's all very good actors. Ariana DeBose, Chris Messina, Pilou Asbæk from Game of Thrones. Great actors, but it's just the characters by themselves are really like not fleshed out or just not really interesting. It's also it's competent the way the movie is shot and everything, but I find it slightly unengaging visually as well. There's a wasted potential there because they're in space. So with the gravity, I feel like they could have done some interesting camera movement and played around with that. They don't really do that. Of course, it takes place in space, so there's some production value that goes into that I was kind of like be able to appreciate in terms of the sets, the special effects and everything. It just couldn't like rise above its premise, and I feel like it's kind of ambitious what they're trying to do with this old thing between the US and Americans, just in terms of those teams and how they explore it. And just by the end of the film, I was like, meh. You know, so it's a meh movie, which means for me it was a 5 out of 10. It's just that aspect that you have this screenplay that's just predictable and doesn't really impress or do anything special. So at the end of the day, it's really forgettable film, unfortunately for me. Kind of makes it like underwhelming. It was lacking in rhythm, and was lacking in a lot of departments in terms of what the story is about and how it's being played out. It was better than Night Swim, that's for sure. So if we make the quick roundup, Night Swim, 4.5 out of 10. Didn't like that movie, a little bit dumb, even though I was a little bit surprised because it was not a complete clusterfuck of a film. So kind of a disposable January movie. It goes in the January category. Same goes for ISS, slightly disappointing film overall. But The Beekeeper, that was the good surprise this month. I still have a few Oscar movies to see. Zone of Interest should be playing next week, but that's kind of like a 2023 release. So in terms of what those movies are coming out, I haven't seen Mean Girls, the musical. Not sure it's quite for me, so I skipped it for now. But yeah, so that's the 3 movies I saw this week for January. As the curse lifted? not really. There's still that January like curse going on there a little bit, but the Beekeeper was fun. That's the main thing here. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Trying to reach 500 subs until the end of the year, so let's see if we can do this. And thanks for watching.
Garbage day! Huh? No!